If I asked you to think of a really tough problem, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Well, if you're anything like me, you probably thought of some big complex math equation, right? For most people, math seems like one of the most difficult subjects out there. It's abstract, it's complex, and unfortunately for those reasons, a lot of people adopt the belief that they're just not math people, which is patently untrue because math is a skill that can be learned just like any other. But since you clicked on this video, hopefully you are not one of those people. Hopefully you have at least some degree of belief that you can become better at math and you have the motivation to do so. And if you do, the obvious question is, how do you get better at math? Well, fortunately, this is one of those questions that has a pretty simple answer. If you want to get better at math, you have to do lots and lots of math. And the tougher the problems are, the better, because tough problems will stretch your understanding and lead you to new breakthroughs. But in the course of studying math and working through these tough problems, you are eventually going to come to problems that just stump you, that you get completely stuck on. And when you get to these points, it's important to know how to eventually solve these problems because these are the ones that are really going to stretch and build your skill set. So that is what I want to focus on in this video. I want to give you some practical techniques for working through and eventually solving those problems that seem insurmountable at first. To start, I want to focus on a piece of advice that the Hungarian mathematician George Polya shared in his 1945 book, How to Solve It. It goes, if you can't solve a problem, then there is an easier problem that you can solve. Find it. This is, in my opinion, the most important technique to understand and put into practice when you're trying to solve tough math problems, because math builds upon itself. More complex concepts are built upon simpler concepts. And if you don't have a strong grasp on the fundamental principles, then a more complex problem is going to likely stump you. So if you come across a problem that you can't solve, first identify the components or the operations that it wants you to carry out. A lot of times complex problems will have multiple. Now what you can do in this case is split the problem into multiple problems that isolate just one of those components or operations. Of course, sometimes you have too shaky of an understanding of the concepts and operations themselves for you to actually work with them and solve that problem. And in that case, it's time to go do some learning. Go dig into your book, look through your notes, or find example problems online that you can follow along with step by step so you can see how people are getting to the solutions using these concepts. And if you need to, you can actually get a step-by-step solution to the exact problem you're working on as well. There are several tools out there that you can use to do this, but regardless of the tool that you choose to use here, the underlying point is that sometimes it can be useful to see a step-by-step solution for a problem you're stuck on. But there are two very important caveats here. First and foremost, before you go running off to find a solution, ask yourself, honestly, have I pushed my brain to the limit trying to solve this problem first? Expending the mental effort required to solve the problem yourself is going to stretch your capabilities. It's going to make you a better mathematician in a way that just looking through solutions won't. Now, if you do need to look up a solution, that's fine. Look it up, follow the steps, and make sure you understand how the answer was arrived at. But once you've done that, challenge yourself to go back and rework the problem without looking at that reference. It is really important to stay vigilant about this, because if you want to get better at math, the whole point is to master the concepts that you're working with. The danger that comes with looking up solutions is that with math, it's really easy to follow along with a step-by-step solution and comprehend what's going on. But that is very different than being able to do it on your own. And that brings me to my final tip for you. And this is especially important for anybody in a math class working through assigned homework. Don't rush when you work through math problems. I know it's really tempting to try to work through homework as fast as you can, and heck, I even made a video about it pretty recently, but with math and science and any sort of really complex subject especially, rushing is only going to hurt you down the road, because when you rush, you don't master the concepts. You just brute force your way to answers, or you look things up, or you otherwise kind of cheaty face your way to a completed homework assignment. And later on, when you're sitting in a testing room, or you have to apply what you've learned in the real world, you are gonna get a harsh lesson about exactly what it is you don't know. So let's recap here. If you want to get better at math and you want to improve your ability to solve those really tough problems, first identify the combination of concepts or operations being used in a problem and then isolate them. Work simpler problems that use just one and then master each concept. You can also simplify the problem by leaving the combination of concepts intact, but swapping in smaller, easier to handle numbers. If you need help with the concepts themselves, go to your book or an explainer article online, look up sample problems, or use a tool like Wolfram Alpha or Symbolab to get step-by-step solutions to the problem you're working on. And finally, don't rush through your homework assignments. Make sure that you're focusing intently on mastering the concepts, not just finishing. Hopefully these tips will give you the confidence to tackle some really tough math problems and to expand your math skill set. And on that note, I want to leave you with a quote from the great physicist Richard Feynman, who said, "I don't believe in the idea that there are a few peculiar people capable of understanding math and the rest of the world is normal. Math is a human discovery, and it's no more complicated than humans can understand." The bottom line is this: ultimately, your ability to get good at math, and anything else for that matter, starts with having the confidence to approach it. And as you solve problems and make mental breakthroughs, your confidence is going to naturally increase. It becomes a self-sustaining cycle. I want to give a huge thanks to Brilliant for sponsoring this video and helping to support this channel. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, you can give it a like to support this channel and maybe consider sharing it with a friend who could benefit from it as well.